Hello, everybody. Welcome to UGASports Live. My name is Radi Nabulsi. I am your host for the next, however long we talk today, probably about an hour or so. I've got Jim Donnan joining us. He is the former Georgia Bulldogs head coach, a member of the Collegiate Football Hall of Fame, the only man to have had the nation's leading pass offense and leading rush offense. So he can kill you any way you want to do it.
I don't know if that's true anymore, but
well, it was at the time. So we're going to stick with it. And then, of course, we have Dayne Young, our producer extraordinaire, and one of the camera shots there as well. So, Coach, this is the final week of spring practice for the Georgia Bulldogs. They will play a G-Day scrimmage game this Saturday at 1 o'clock. We hope everybody attends. It's not going to be on television, so folks, if you actually want to see how these players look, you're going to have to be there. I kind of asked them the other day. I said, hey, can we just set up a camera and talk over it and just live stream it from the stadium? They said no. So
did you really think you could get by with that?
I asked. I'm like, hey, it's not going to be a TV. Can I just sit there with my phone and just talk over
Coach, the answer is always no until you ask.
There'll probably be some people do that, though.
I should have just done it, not asked.
Yeah, well, you don't need to be any more trouble over there than you are already. So,
yeah, I got some funny looks going to the gala the other night. They're like, "What the hell are you doing here?" So,
hey, high dollar guy, man.
Fantastic. I will give a quick shout out to the folks who put on the Athens Touchdown Club. They put on the Building Championships Gala, a fundraiser for Georgia's NIL. Tickets, I think the tables were either like $20,000, $10, $20, or $30,000 for the tables, $2,000 per person. A fantastic night. They raised a lot of money for Georgia's NIL. Kirby Smart did a great job explaining why they needed it and what was going on with the house system, the house settlement. And I guess I won't get into the details because it wouldn't be fair to reveal some behind the scenes stuff. But I will say this, when Kirby Smart gets up and talks about it, anybody that thinks that Kirby Smart is just exhausted with NIL and the transfer portal and he's burned out or something, you've not talked to Kirby Smart. That man is still as gung-ho about winning championships as he was when he first got here. That person, he is just driven, and he expects to win. And the portal, he's going to use it to his advantage. NIL, he's going to use it to his advantage. Everything he can do with his staff, with his players, with his roster, that man wants to win just as bad as he did when he showed up in 2016. So,
yeah, I agree. You got to have that fire. I mean, good examples on Gino Auriemma. I mean, he's won his 12th national championship at age 71, but hadn't won one since 2016. So, I mean, you got 11 years in between championship, and he still got it humming like that. And it really wasn't that good a team early in the year, and he kind of put it all together. But
but Coach, he relished being an underdog. He relished being a 2 seed instead of a 1 seed.
Yeah, they just destroyed everybody. But I just think Kirby's got a good sense of direction about. He's always felt very confident in his own self, and he's got a good staff. But the biggest point that I think, beside the fundraising and all that, but for the fans to get a chance to just see these kids without their uniforms on and interact with them and see what kind of kids they got and what kind of manners they got and all the things that Kirby and all the people over there are trying to do as far as educate them and things off the field. I really feel like these kids are good ambassadors for what the program stands for. And I mean, I've said this, and I'll always believe this: you can't win with bums. You got to have good people. You got to have kids that care about other guys, and you got to have people that respect authority and have discipline. And we came up a little short last year, but we've had a heck of a run here. I mean, you look back to 10 years ago when he started. I mean, this has kind of been a golden era of Georgia football.
And speaking of that golden era, some of the biggest components of that came back for this. I want to shout out Nolan Smith. I know all the Georgia fans love him. 7 of his NFL teammates all took a vacation together. And again, that's the idea. These guys hang out together even in the NFL. These teammates, they're friends for life. And, when you were part of a NFL team, those are your coaches. These are your brothers. A bunch of those guys went off on vacation. Nolan Smith left the vacation to come back and speak at the gala because he told Kirby Smart he would. And Brock Bowers was there. He's finishing up his degree. So the point being, I've met a ton of the players, and again, a lot of them knew me from interviewing them and recruiting. But the way they were talking to the fans who were there, the donors, the way they were interacting with people. I know a lot of people only see Georgia when they get in trouble or they come up short or something like that. But when you get to see these kids in, like Coach says, not in a jersey, in a suit, sitting at your table with you, talking to you, telling you about their lives, it was a great night, and I appreciate getting to go. And I really want them to, Coach, we need to get them to bring back picture day. These people need to be able to see these kids up close and get some autographs and such. So we'll put that up there. This Saturday, you will get to see the players in their uniforms. Coach, what goes on the week before G-Day? What are they working on now?
Yeah, usually speaking, after you finish the two scrimmages, you work on a lot of situations between now and Saturday that you're going to see during the course of a game. You have like a chart that you want to make sure you hit, and not necessarily all at practice, but walkthroughs and all that, just so they can go over in their mind what to do. And at the same time, find out, really about who your two deep are going to be on your special teams going into the fall practices. So I think also tomorrow they'll do a little organizational day where they work at putting the teams together, because they got to know, which sideline to go on and who's going to be this. And it's kind of a nightmare to put two teams together, because you got to have the special teams and you got to have all that stuff coordinated, because you'll probably have about 40 to 42, 43 players on each team. So, some of these guys are going to have to maybe play in a situation they're not used to. And then the other thing is just kind of just meet with the players and tell them what the assessment of what you've done so far this spring, where you are, where you need to improve, what you've done really well, and go over what your schedule is going to be between now and the summer. Some of them will have to come in for that May semester and maybe go to school a little bit, but just basically articulate the method that you want them to really work on between now and there's a lot of improvement you can make between now and August 1st. So particularly the young guys that have just gotten here, who, everything's been swirling around. They've been putting all this stuff in, and they work to learn their offense, defense, and everything. But now they can really refine their skills and work hard when it's not a playing atmosphere where there's not quite as much pressure, and you can really develop yourself. So that's pretty much it for this week. And then coaches between now and the end of April be setting up where they're going to go for the recruiting in May, and set up some of these home visits they're going to have, and also the official visits they'll have between now and the end of June, and also work on trying to get some kids to come into camp to work out and analyze them.
When Kirby was asked about other schools canceling G-Day, I think it was the first week of spring camp, he said, Kirby, what do you think about that? He goes, well, I want to have a G-Day, but I don't know that we can. And it took him 2 weeks before they actually came out with a time for it, because he was saying, Coach, that they just didn't have enough players, or he wasn't sure they would have enough. He said, if we have one or two injuries in the defensive line, then we can't staff two teams to go head to head. And
good point, because really, when you think about it, you got to get two teams out there, and then all of a sudden you only have so many defensive linemen, and you don't want a kid to play 60, 65 snaps who hasn't been playing but 15 or 20, and then all of a sudden that's how you get some injuries. So as much as you want to let the fans see the players and look like a team, it's hard to do that in the spring. I mean, it was even harder when you couldn't bring these younger guys in, and you lost all the guys to graduation and pros. And we always had some some guys on the scout team that look like All-Americans, and people want to talk about them all summer, but really, they were just out there against somebody else that wasn't very good either. So
Jonathan Rumpf.
Well, there's a lot of that, but anyhow, I think for the most part, hadn't had a lot of injuries this spring, and had a chance to evaluate everybody. And Kirby put some pressure on them early about what the standards need to be. And I think, based on what he's had to say publicly, I wouldn't say what he said privately, but he's pretty, realized we got a long way to go, but we've gotten this out of the way, and people know what the standards are, and they'll work to meet those.
Kirby's reasoning is so much more viable than what Matt Rule was saying, which we don't want teams to see our players and get them in the transfer portal. I'm like, they know who you have.
You talking about Matt Rule or Socrates? I mean, this guy is to have not won any more than he has, really sure gives you a lot of philosophy, and I certainly respect him, and he did a pretty good job at Baylor, that's for sure, and maybe he'll win some at Nebraska. We'll see how that goes, but I have a lot more interest in listening to people like Kirby Smart and Ryan Day and these guys that really are playing at the level that you need to. But this guy really espouses so much philosophy. I mean, I can't wait to look every day and see what his last philosophical statement would be. And he was getting on Urban Meyer because Urban Meyer asked him why he wouldn't play in some other non-conference teams. And he said, why would we play them? It doesn't make any difference. We got to play 9 Big Ten games, and, we don't need to play them. And that's his opinion. That's what it needs to be. But
I thought it was rich. This is a guy who's talking about, people poaching his players. Didn't he take Dylan Raiola at the absolute last second from Georgia?
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, don't. You have no room to speak about.
He got 3 players from Georgia. He got the defensive end and the portal, and he got the big tight end. And then he got in trouble out there. But But I think did that kid from Washington, the defensive end, ever play for him any? I'm talking about that transfer.
I don't know.
I didn't follow Nebraska enough to know for sure.
No, I don't know what they did. Foster Moss can probably tell us. He's in the chat there, or Andy. They'll look it up for us. They're good at stuff like that. But again, I'm with you. Kirby's points about not having enough defensive linemen to run made a lot more sense. If we don't want to showcase our players who somebody might entice into the enticements, and Kirby pointed this out last week. He said the enticements are already there. They're being invited to Zoom calls to look at players who are going to go into the portal. So it's the having or not having a spring game won't have any bearing on who's going into the portal. Those kids are going to go regardless.
Here's the thing: you got all this tape on these guys that they played, and the only advantage would be a young guy that just got there, maybe that hasn't played and then is not very happy, and they might be leaving after one semester. But you can analyze these guys so many different ways; it's unreal. So,
Kirby's he said on 680 yesterday they haven't had that many injuries. Knock on wood. They've come out mostly healthy. They'll have enough defensive linemen. Somebody asked me on radio the other day, I think it was Chuck Oliver, somebody said they don't have enough offensive linemen. I'm like, Georgia's got enough offensive linemen. They're running 3 deep. Kirby actually pointed out that his was one of the few teams in the nation that had 3 deep offensive linemen. He's got plenty of those. But, Coach, what do you do at defensive end? What do you do at that jack spot? There ain't a lot of outside linebackers for Georgia this spring, especially games out.
They can scheme it up on defense and line up in some hybrid looks where you don't require a certain personnel, and so you could maybe play 5 or 6 DBs and play, different schemes like that to make up for it. But and the other thing they do is they try to eliminate a lot of high speed hits just by not running a lot of balls up inside and making sure people don't get caught up in the piles. And it'll always be a situation where somebody throws more passes or catches more passes than normal just because they'll throw the ball more.
Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, well, one of the things that gets lost in all the spring game discussion right now is just it's great for like the community and the state. That building, Sanford Stadium, gets used for the public 8 times a year, and that's including a graduation. And so I think any chance that they get into, especially where season tickets and the price of going to games has come, it's a great touch point for the state for fans. And Georgia already has an advantage that you can just go and see into the stadium from the bridge at any time. Most schools don't have that because it's built to the ground. But the other thing, and Coach, you probably remember this better than anyone, the walk-ons that help you get ready to play that gauntlet of an SEC schedule, this is one of the only times that they're going to suit up. They don't even go on road trips half the time. And so they're just not with the team that way.
Yeah, it's a chance for them to cover a kickoff or do something, which is a lifelong thrill. But I would say the hidden value over anything is the ability to bring in recruits, particularly younger ones that this is their first really opportunity to see a college football atmosphere. You bring in these 9th and 10th graders that have done well and get a head start on building the relationship with them, because you can't visit with them live off campus. You can on campus if they come to camp or something. So they'll have, I don't even know how many they'll have, but there'll be a lot of them come in that probably won't ever come here again, but some of them will come here 7, 8, 9 times because this is their first chance, and then they really like it. And the more you can get around the guy, the better chance you can solidify that relationship and get them ready to roll.
You mentioned the effect it has on recruiting. Remember, one of the first things Kirby Smart did when he got here was have 93K Day, filled the stadium. We had kids talking about that for 4 years afterwards. Like, yeah, I was a freshman when I got invited to Georgia's G-Day game, and they had 93,000 people there in April. That blew my damn mind. So, of course, I'm going to come here and play for the University of Georgia. Like, yeah, you make a good impression. So, folks, show up tomorrow. The Kirby hasn't called for a 93K Day, but Saturday. Show up, because it does have an effect on the fans. And it should be an aerial raid. You don't want to get you don't have enough running backs really to get to run it up the middle, and you don't want to get guys hurt. Which leads us to, Coach, the number one player I think everybody wants to see, because he's always the most popular guy on the team, the backup quarterback. We got to speak to Ryan Puglisi last night for the first time in a Georgia media setting, and there'll be a lot of eyes on Ryan Puglisi this coming Saturday. And we asked him about, coming to UGA.
Honestly, I really just think it comes down to having a love for where you want to go. I came to Georgia. I came on multiple visits, met with the staff multiple times, and I love them every single time. And I think it's rare to find a school that you truly love. And when you really love something, you're willing to do everything for it. You're willing to wake up early the next day and go to work, do whatever it takes to get better. So I think it would have been tough for me to find another school that I loved as much as Georgia, and I still feel that way.
Yeah, you can't beat that. I mean, that's what you want. Very sincere, very genuine, and the really good players, they're not too concerned about competition, because why would you give up a chance to play your lifelong dream or someplace you really feel comfortable or affects your skill set or your development, and give it up to somebody else because you're worried about their reputation or who's there. So I like that challenge that he accepted, and he never wavered, particularly when you brought up Raiola. We knew Raiola was coming. He still was staying strong. And I like that part too. So he definitely's got the arm and the velocity. And from what I understand, he's really he missed a little bit last spring with a little knee injury. Didn't have to have surgery, but hyperextension. So he got a little behind, but he really does have the kind of arm that you want in college football. And if he can just manufacture the other traits as far as being which I'm sure he's got, but you got to do it when the band's playing. So, but I understand he's had a good spring, and that certainly propelled Gunner into making Gunner compete even more. So that's a good situation.
I asked Puglisi last night point blank. I'm like, hey, do you really believe this is a competition? You know, what did Mike Bobo say to you? Because, I mean, let's face it, Gunnar does have a year up on him. And, you know, this is Gunnar's third or fourth spring. This is only Ryan Puglisi's first. And it would just be very easy to just, you know, put Gunnar in there and say, look, this guy's served his time. And Puglisi's like, absolutely, I believe it's competition. I can win it. And I asked him, do you feel comfortable enough to be the starter right now? Do you know enough of the playbook? And he said, yes. And a bunch of other players said that as well, that the kid knows the playbook. He teaches them where to line up. He knows the plays. So he's got command of it like he hasn't had before. So this is a kid who, like you said, Coach, when Dylan Raiola was the number one quarterback in the nation coming here, the media kept asking, you know, Puglisi, when are you going to decommit and go somewhere else? Because Georgia's getting Dylan Raiola. He's like, I'd have to beat him out. If I want to be an NFL quarterback, there's 32 starting quarterbacks. I will have to beat up. If I go somewhere else, I'm still going to have to beat out all but, you know, 31 QBs if I want to reach my lifelong dream. The kid is not scared. He is not worried about competition. And everyone's like, oh, well, if he doesn't get the starting job, he's going to transfer. I don't know that that's true. I think he really wants to be here.
You know, I think that's certainly something we got to bring up. But I really don't worry about the kind of guys that we recruit here, because Kirby challenges them and tells them, look, you're going to get competition, but you're going to get developed and you're going to go against good players every day. And we haven't had that much issue here about guys not coming here worried about somebody else. You know what I'm saying? And it's an insult to you if I'm recruiting you, Radi or Dayne, and I'm saying, and I'm another school, and say, why do you want to go to Georgia? You can come here and play right away. Yeah, maybe I can, but when they play Georgia, you're going to get your ass beat too. So that's the way I look at it.
The overall, we got to speak to 11 players last night, which we normally don't get to speak to that many. So I do appreciate we didn't speak to Kirby, but we got a bunch of different players. And it was interesting that we got Ellis Robinson, you know, and DeMello and Daniel Harris. You had three guys fighting for one spot at the cornerback thing. And there were questions about, you know, why should you be the starter? Why, you know, what do you do better than these guys? And every one of them, they were all very courteous to their fellow guys. They talked about how they were good friends, but they also talked about the, like you said, Coach, the competition. They're like, you have to, and especially the transfers. Noah Branch, Zachariah Branch mentioned it last week. Noah Thomas mentioned it this week, talking about just the sheer amount of competition. Like, we tend to gloss over that because we just assume it's there. But when you have new kids that you haven't spoken to in a while, transfers in that you haven't spoken to for, you know, before this first time, their eyes kind of get a little big when they tell you the reason I came here was for that competition, or I'm in the middle of a ridiculous competition. It ain't easy to be one of those starters here at Georgia, Coach.
Yeah, and I will say this. Maybe we did have 11 guys that you could talk to, but Kirby's pretty slick now. Let's just say you've got three defensive backs vying for that job, but all three might be starters, but all three might be thinking about leaving too. I'm not saying they are, but all of a sudden, well, you had two of those guys talk to the press, but you didn't let me. You're not really thinking about me playing. So, I mean, it's pretty sharp by Kirby, put all those guys out there. And I like the fact that they got a chance to meet with the press, and it shows it not only to them, but their parents and everybody else, that they're in a viable position to play at Georgia. And for Kirby to expose them to the press means that they do have a chance. And if they are thinking about leaving, why would he have them talk to you? So I think it's good that he did that.
Well, Rod, you're in the rooms way more than I ever am, Roddy. So it seems like to me that we've had more players available for interview in the spring than I can remember under Kirby Smart, because there's always repetition with some of the team leader guys. Like Nolan Smith was going to get there a lot. So you would see that. McConkey ended up being one of those guys. It seems like they're rotating a ton of people in here. I love that. I think it's a great strategy by UGA.
Yeah, I asked Josh Brooks about that at the gala, and he said that Steven, you know, the guy in charge of Georgia Strategic Communications, has been kind of working on that. And That was the first thing I said, Coach, last night when we found out yesterday when we were getting 11 players. I'm like, this is a smart move. I know Kirby likes to have his team spokesman, as Dayne points out. Your Cedric Van Pran, your Warren Erickson, the same guys. Yeah, we could get Daylen Everett again. You could bring out Cash Jones again. And they did bring out Cash. So but it's always the same 10 to 15 guys. But if you give us somebody else, we can tell a new story. And the first three guys, when they brought up a couple of weeks ago, especially after they'd had a high-profile arrest, they brought out three players in like Chris Cole and Gunnar Stockton and Justin Williams who love Georgia. And when you watch those videos, you just fell in love with, number 18. You're like, this guy is awesome. I love him. And then when you get to talk to guys you don't normally get to talk to, you get to tell new stories. But also, if I am, say, Ellis Robinson, and the only person who's been interviewed at the cornerback spot is Daylen Everett, and then you let Daniel Harris go out there, I'm like, well, there's your two starters. And if I'm South Carolina, I'm reaching out to Ellis going, they're not even letting you in front of the media. If you were here at South Carolina, you'd be in front of the media every day. We'd be building your brand. It's obvious if they won't let you talk to the media that you're not a starter. So I'm with you, Coach. I thought it was a brilliant tactical move to get these guys out there. You get different stories, and these guys feel like they're representing Georgia. So I was glad on all fronts. And today, all of our readers at UGASports.com get to read a great story about Noah Thomas, the transfer. We never get to speak to transfers before they play. We never get to speak to injured players. We had Gabe Harris last night. Gabe Harris isn't practicing this spring. We had Daylen Everett when he was banged up. We had Monroe Freely. Monroe Freely's not playing this spring. So he's letting those team leaders get out in front and represent UGA, and the guys who are in battles represent UGA. And I think it makes Georgia look good. And so, Dayne, to your point, yeah, we've seen more players this spring than we have in the past, and I have yet to see a downside.
You mentioned Noah Thomas. I loved what he had to say about Gunnar Stockton.
Man, Gunner's a great dude. He's probably one of the best human beings I've ever met. He's so down to earth, and man, he's a gamer, man. When he gets out there, he's locked in. He's in that mode, and he just wants to push the ball down the field and go put it in the end zone every chance he gets. So, yeah, that dude's a baller.
That's a new guy, Coach, coming in saying that about potential QB1. And it seems like that leadership on Georgia's offense is in good shape.
Yeah, he's saying when you get in the huddle, you remember what I said to you about you on the and give me the ball here. But no, I think it really is pretty emblematic that here's a guy that started in the SEC for a good team at Texas A&M, and really the number one element was Coach Coley, the fact that he was his coach, and he knew that Coley would treat him right and give him an opportunity. And when you leave a established program and go to the more elite based on what's happened recently, then you've got to have a lot of genuine confidence in yourself that you can make that step, but also that they're going to utilize you, because it's hard to make that transition from one school to another unless you have the skill set to show in that program. And we've seen that happen with guys like Lovett, who came in and did a good job, and to a certain extent Humphreys now, but also Ra and Colby were going to do it. So I think it's really good that we can say, look, we've brought guys in here and we're selective in who we're bringing, and we know what we need to make this position better, and you can do that because it's not just about the money part. And I think in this kid's case, for sure, based on what some other schools offered him compared to what we did, I think he's. I like his approach, and I like the fact that guys will stand up and talk about their teammates like that. That's excellent.
We asked him, why Georgia? You're the number one wide receiver at an SEC school. Georgia's known in a lot of places as running back you, not a lot of 1,000-yard receivers. Why did you pick Georgia? What did Mike Bobo say to you? He said, well, Mike Bobo said, just come be great. And that was enough. But he also said, and it's in the story today, it's my first time really living out of state, so that was a change. But, yeah, I really see Georgia on the big stage all the time. You all see it every year. Coach Kirby Smart's a great coach all around. He's going to coach you hard, and that's what the players should want. You want to be coached hard so you can get better every day. So it was that development. It was the fact that Georgia is on the big stage.
And then James Coley's here.
And James Cole. So he's like, I get to play for the coach who recruited me. The coach has developed me. I get to do it on the biggest stage possible. And I thought it was a good vote of confidence for Georgia's offense, coordinator, the quarterbacks, the O-line, everybody. So it wasn't just about NIL, as you point out, Coach. This is a kid who wanted to come to Georgia. And I kind of feel bad for Texas A&M to lose a receiver like that, but I'm much more happy for Georgia that they have Noah Thomas. So.
Hey, when you line up in Burma Road it all day, what do you expect that kid to do? I mean, you saw their offense last night. It looked like Aztec U. I think one of the things, and nothing against A&M, but seriously, one of the things that I see if I'm a aspiring recruit is I watch the tape over the last 4 or 5 years. I see the guys going to the NFL, and I also see last year the plays that could have been there if I was playing.
Yep.
Because it's pretty obvious from our fan base and some of the complaints, which are certainly there, about catching the ball and doing all these things. But a couple plays here, a couple plays there are the big difference in any game. But when you got guys that can make those plays consistently, whether they're covered or not, those are the kind of guys you got to have. And those are the guys that we've lost that are playing in the NFL. And they're the guys that we didn't do that great. And certainly that's why I think a guy like Branch comes here, like a guy, and not only can he do some really good things catching the ball, but returning kicks. I mean, we weren't very good at all returning kicks last year. And then we were excellent covering kicks and making field goals and punting. But I think it's just opportunity. That's what you're looking for in any profession and anything, is just an opportunity to, and nothing's given, but you see that opportunity and you see the potential. And it's a vote of confidence to our staff. I mean, the people are trying to say, hey, we need to change and we need it. Why do you think a guy like him or Branch or any of these guys would come here if they thought that we didn't have a good system? I mean,
yeah. You mentioned special teams. I actually asked Sokovia White about that because it's important, and that's how you can make it. So let's hear what Sokovia had to say.
Gunner's position or doing returns?
Yeah, special teams is a big thing to Coach Smart. You will not be playing offense or defense if you don't play special teams. You're a special teams player before you are what you got recruited for. So yeah, I'm willing to do whatever they put me at. Deadbolt, I was doing a little bit of deadbolt today, kickoff return. On kickoff, I got put on kickoff as L1, running down there, and returner, punt returner. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to help the team. So if that
like that, I mean, that's his chance. And you look back at our evolution here, that's one of the ways that Kirby was able to recruit early on was, when they were saying, hey, you're not going to play as a freshman and we got these other guys, blah, blah, blah. He said, look, we play freshmen. Look at all these guys. And you can find out some really key ingredients about a kid, about the way he plays when the pressure's on, where it might not hurt you as bad on a special team as it would if it's a definitive position there. But it gives him a chance to get in the heat of battle and learn how to do things. And plus it shows your ability to, prove that you're a team guy, that you don't mind doing the hard things to prove that you're part of the overall process. So I've always, I've told Radi before Dayne was on here, part of our success any place I ever coached was good special teams. And I was fortunate enough, my coach in college was really big on it. And I liked it too, because I was a punter besides a quarterback. And I got to punt before I got to play quarterback. And really a lot more pressure there because you only get to go out there, a little bit. And I just feel like that emphasis has always helped me career-wise.
Well, translate that terminology that he was saying. What was he doing on special teams in practice?
Well, L1, we're not talking about the lumbar, but we're talking about, the outside cover guy. And then, then he's also talking about the turn guy being back there. I can't remember exactly all he went through, but you got some different jargon or different terminology for all these people back there. You got the two deep guys, and you got the people that do the wall for them and build the wall, and then the kick out guys and all that. So, but they do such a tremendous job, and a lot of places do it. I hate to just typecast Georgia, but what I like about our practice is the way we streamline. You just don't line up and kick the ball and go cover it. I mean, they're spread out. They have the outside guys are working on getting held up and trying to cover. The protectors are just working on their protection. The inside people are working on their release points. And then all of a sudden they do half line of that, and then they put everybody together. But all the reps added up, and they'll have another side working on, all the guys working on just blocking the kick and going in there and putting his arms like this, and then diving, and then they dive into like a pole vault pad there, where they land and don't get hurt. But an inordinate amount of practice there. And then as far as the whole time while they're doing that, the returners are down there catching the ball with a ball machine and getting 25, 30 catches while everybody else is doing all that. So it's really well organized.
Speaking of guys catching passes, a number of different receivers mentioned the fact that they stay after practice and will catch another 100, 150 balls on the jugs machines after practice is even over. And somebody asked him, well, why? He's like, well, I want to make it to the league. I want to because I get the question came up like last night about some of the drop passes and how the team.
Oh, good Lord! How we got to talk about that shit again? I mean.
Well, it was in relation, like, how do they look this year? And they're like, oh, we are much better this year. Coach Coley's got us working on the 2 hands, 2 eyes, and he's got us catching the ball a lot better. And it was just that extra work. Just like I thought it was neat that we saw how these guys are putting in the extra time to address an issue.
Well, they had a chance to talk to the guys last year, didn't they? Do the same thing. They're not doing anything different as far as extra.
I'm just saying it was nice to.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Why do they do it? Why are they still dropping passes? Like, it's not for lack of effort.
Right.
It's not, they're not.
It wasn't last year.
Off early.
Wasn't last year either. I'm sorry. But they're not doing anything different than they've ever done as far as I'm concerned. But
it's the first time you hear about it. So that's why I thought
maybe they're catching it. Maybe they're catching it now better. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's my impatience, sir.
That's okay. You mentioned London Humphreys. And I want to bring him up because it's another guy we got to talk to, I don't say for the first time, but it's one that we haven't spoken to him a whole lot. He mentioned one thing about coming to Georgia was he talked about the development. He said you see it at the documented cases of development all over the place, not just at wide receiver, but, at a bunch of different spots. And I think he also had some interesting stuff about how he's developed.
In all honesty, I say since I've been here as a whole, just as a receiver, I felt like I've improved in every facet, but one that maybe sticks out to me is just like the physicality of the receiver position. It's required of you here at Georgia to be able to catch the ball here. You got to block here, so I felt like I've improved a lot in that aspect, and being able to do all sorts of things. Being blocking, it allows you to open up the passing game even more and helps you with releases and whatnot.
He's not wrong.
I thought he explained that very eloquently, how it just opens up what you can do in the passing game.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when the kid was here for his visit with his dad and mom, and I was over there on the side talking to him. He was here before we were going to play in a bowl game, and he could just visualize his skill set moving in here and playing, and certainly coming in from Vanderbilt. He's got good intelligence too to go with it, and he's really. I mean, if he didn't do anything last year, the play he made against Tennessee was incredible.
Yeah.
He did a lot of things in Clemson, but I think he just was hurt just enough not to play, but he definitely gives you, he caught one the other day, a deep ball, big time. And I think this other kid that has similar to one that Dayne knows from North Oconee,
Landon
Roldan is very similar. And then you got Taylor and Wiley. I mean, we got players along with Bell. I mean, we got players.
Just think about that slot position, Coach. You got Zachariah Branch, former 5-star, freshman All-American. Dylan Bell's playing some there. You got London Humphreys who can hop in there. Nitro Tuggle could play there. Sokovie White could play. I actually asked one of the guys, I'm like, who else playing at the slot? They're like, we all are. Because we all have to learn the X, the Y, the Z, F, they're all – you got to learn multiple spots just in case your number's called. We already had Sokovie on there. He's played there. That slot position is going to be filthy. That's not even talking about the size they have now on the edge, on the perimeters with, Colby Young and Noah Thomas, 6'6" and 6'5", and CJ Wiley. This is I don't make it to sound simplistic, but now your wide receivers look like their positions. Short, shifty, fast, lightning quick slot guys and big outside receivers who can snatch the ball away. I'm thinking Gunner, Ryan Puglisi, whoever is your starting quarterback, they got to be salivating if they get enough time to throw it. They got to be very excited.
Well, and you get your backs out of the backfield that can catch. And this is the last clip that we have here, because the last time that Cass Jones went behind the podium, he gave a little horns down prior to playing Texas. And Anthony Dasher asked if how that went for him internally.
Would you do that again if asked?
Never again. Coach Smart let me know. That was pretty silly of me. So make sure not to do anything with my hands. That's why I'm leaving them right here the entire time.
I love that.
Well, hey, the guy lives in Texas. I can't blame him. I mean, I can't wait to do it every time OU beats them, which hasn't been much lately. But, I mean, this Texas is like a saddle on an old horse. They chap your ass, man.
I love Cash was good. I'm always glad we get him. I said how much we love getting new people, but I always enjoy talking to Cash Jones. He isn't right.
Hey, he's I'm telling you now, you can't have enough of those guys. And I remember the first time I ever told you about him about 3 years ago. I said, watch out for this guy. And then you put it in your 4-3-2 or whatever it was. What is it you call it?
3-2-1 report.
You put it in the report, and the guy is just, I mean, everybody that's a fan here, you see him in there, you say, oh, well, but have you ever seen him not make the play? I mean, if he has to block, he blocks. If he has to make 4 yards, he makes it. If he has to catch it out of the backfield, he's money.
We actually had somebody on the board mention when they retire, when he leaves, we need to reroute or rename the wheel route. Just call it Cash.
Not a bad idea.
I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm with that. I asked him last night, Coach, do you realize he had 24 receptions and only 14 carries? This is a guy who caught 10 more passes than he did. I mean, he's a running back. So I said, are you a running back who catches, or are you a receiver who runs the ball? He's like, that's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, we had so many injuries back there. We had to kind of work around and run packages. But the times he was in there that he didn't catch the ball, his blitz pickup is really good. And besides the fact he can, physically handle it, he mentally handles it. He's a very, when they had the gala the other night, he was the guy that had up there explaining the different reasons why they did things along with the coaches, because, they wanted to get the players involved too. And he's very articulate, and he's just the kind of guy you want representing your program.
The blitz pickup he had on 3rd and 3, Georgia's trailing 27-7. They throw that little touchdown to Lovett on the right side. The only way that ball gets thrown on time and on the money and Georgia ties the game is because Cash Jones lays out, picks up the blitzing defender coming in off the right side. great.
Yeah, he's a lot like Cook. I mean, but Cook got to run the ball a lot more. But we really use Cook out of the backfield extensively, and I think Cash can be a pro player. I think he'll play.
I want our last 10 minutes to be questions heavy from UGAsports.com. But first, let's thank the people who support us, starting with Athens Ford.
Yeah, the thing about Athens Ford, I've had some people ask me, what's going on with the whole, all the different, tariffs and stuff like that. I don't know if people realize this, but Athens Ford is actually doing employee pricing. So this is a big deal. It's going on through, I think, June 2nd. So it's for limited time only. Get A plan pricing. That means you pay what the factory Ford employee pays. Now, my dad used to work for GMC, and I know what he got a GMC Sierra for my uncle for. It was an incredible deal. So if you can get in on the employee pricing, it is fantastic. And they have that going on now. It started April 4th. It's not going to be forever. That's not from here on out. But it ends June 2nd. So basically and it's across their full line of trucks and SUVs. So if you want to know what the Ford factory employees pay, go by Athens Ford. They've got the employee pricing going on. You cannot miss that. If you were in the market for a vehicle, go get a Ford. It's going to be it'll be the best pricing you'll ever see. So you'll never get this opportunity again. So jump on it. Go check out Athens Ford. Get the Ford employee pricing. Also, if you need money to buy a vehicle, jump on with our friends at myperfectfranchise.net. Start a new business. Cash heavy one. The folks at myperfectfranchise.net have the Franchise of the Month contest up on the board at UGAsports.com right now. If you go on there and answer what the Franchise of the Month is, you'll get a free year subscription to UGAsports.com. This one was recession-proof. Parents love it. They line up for it. You get a ton of repeat business, and it's not a huge financial outlay to start your franchise. So check out our friends at myperfectfranchise.net. They will get you squared away in up to 3,000 different franchises. So check them out.
I am glad that we have not talked college basketball and that it is Masters Week, so we didn't have to dwell on Monday's men's basketball championship. Don't need to discuss that a whole lot. So we're going to get the questions here from members of UGAsports.com and our YouTube page. We'll start. Coach, we're going to be pretty quick with this, so 30 seconds an answer maximum. Andy Stowe says his biggest concern going into the season is lines of scrimmage. Do you share that same concern, or who should fans be excited about?
Well, you always worry about line of scrimmage when you weren't as good running the ball as you need to be or defending the run as you need to be. My major concern right now is pass defense, playing the ball in the air. I just worry about our ability to knock the ball down or intercept passes. I feel like our lines of scrimmage are going to be good. I just want to see us play the ball in the air better.
We'll expound on that heading to summer. We'll do some position groups and go into the details there. From Bulldog Ice, are we ready for mouth-watering players to look for this season from Coach?
Well, I'll be sure to have some for you, but certainly we've got plenty of athletic guys to talk about, but I would refine my mouth watering until maybe August 1st so I can watch them a little more. Because of my physical limitations here, I haven't been able to watch them enough to make that kind of appraisal, but I'll definitely owe it to everybody to do that, and hopefully I'll be better by then and I can do it. And I'm not poor mouthing it. I just can't see good enough to watch them at this point, but
You've just set the bar so damn high when you were like, Jordan Davis, I need to watch out for that guy. Or Brock Bowers. Have you heard of this tight end from
Cash Jones or Lad McConkey?
Yeah, my best one was Jalen Carter when he hadn't even gotten here.
Yeah. Hey, y'all have a generational defensive lineman coming in. What'd you rank him? Coach, we got him at 49. Stupid. That's exactly what he said.
From Hydrant Chaser, what are Coach Donnan's 5 favorite meals in Athens? I took a guess at 2 of the restaurants at least.
5 favorite meals?
Yeah.
You mean as far as specific places?
Let's just go restaurants at this point. Yeah.
Well, my number 1 is Rachel's in Watkinsville because I need vegetables, and it's the best place for me for that. Then I would say probably got to put Chick-fil-A in there because I go to breakfast there a couple times a week, maybe 3. Then I'm not ranking them in order, but I love Chuck's and what's that? I got to think a couple of Italian places.
Well, the 2 that I was going to get, Sakura, because I know you like going there.
I like
the other from the Table Bistro is one you turned me on to.
Yeah, Table's good for people who hadn't been there. Very good. Table's good. There's so many. I got it. Italian place that there's 3 of them. One on the east side, one on Timothy Road.
De Palmas.
The Palmas, yeah, that's good. And
right.
But you know, when you eat out as much as I do, I mean, I could do a cuisine show. We could have a podcast, and I could rate it. And here's the thing: you can usually tell what kind of place it is by the people that wait on you.
Yeah. From FPRX, when's the last time Georgia ran a running back screen? It feels like forever. I thought they ran screens last year.
When Caesar went over the Rubicon, I mean, I bust up on Bobo. He keeps telling me, "Hey, we put it in. They just don't call it." But we haven't seen used to be there was a quick screen, the tunnel screen, all these other, and then the slow screen, where you block 1001, 1002, 1003, and then you go.
And then everybody lets go.
Yeah, but we haven't run a slow screen in a long time. He's right. I mean, very, very, very perceptive by whoever said who made that comment.
FPRX. I guess I was thinking more of the quick wide receiver screens. I've seen more of those, but yeah, running back.
Oh, you can call any kind of screen in the history of mankind, and we run it compared to that one. Slow screen is just. I think Mike just doesn't call it because he knows I like it. I don't know.
From Good Dogs,
an offensive lineman, and all of a sudden,
happy birthday to Mike Bobo today, 51 years old. I'm very proud of Mike. On the field, off the field, tremendous father, husband, just a good man.
From Go Dogs 1371, Coach, do you have any Billy Henderson stories? I know that he didn't recruit, but did play Michael Greer.
Yeah, Billy Henderson was a coach over at for a long time at Clark Central, and then every other place. He was down in Macon. Tremendous man, good leader, and the first week that I was here, he came by the office and wanted to know if I'd come over and come to his clinic for youth kids. Just come and talk to him. I said, sure, I did it, and always glad to be around youth kids and things like that. And then the first year our first spring game, we had to play it at Clark Central because they had the hedges down for the Olympics. So we had to go over and play there. And he was very hospitable to us. And big time, you have a college team playing on your practice field. Your game field. So it was good. The communications weren't that great to the press box, but we didn't need much anyhow. So, but I'll never forget that ride over there on the from Buttsmere to Clark Central, which is less than 2 miles, and we had a police escort like we were going to play for the national championship. This is a little bit overbearing for me, but I was ready for it though.
Final couple from our YouTube audience. Jonathan Eason says you've got $10 and you're getting lunch at the Masters. What are you buying?
Well, you can buy a lot for that. I'm certainly going to get the pimento cheese. I like those. I like everything about it. I don't know. I could go a long way with $10. But my grandson went with me one year, and he had 7 egg salad sandwiches, and that was a terrible ride home, man. Then I couldn't believe he ate that many of them. But we had 7 of them. He had 7.
Eddie from Ackworth says, do you think that Kirby's putting that many kids in news conferences just so you can see who can handle it best, and then maybe they're the spokespeople going forward?
Well, I think it's always good to put as many as you can, but I don't think he would put somebody up there that's not capable either, because you don't want to, embarrass a kid or embarrass the program. So I think a little bit of it's always to put them out there, but I don't think he would do it to see if they could do it or not. I don't think he would do that.
Yeah. We can wrap there because we need to. So that's a good show, packed with sound bites and questions from our audience.
Yeah, and I apologize for Radi for getting on him about those players after practice, but
I wish you would have done it more.
I'm just I always want to be a doctor, but I don't have enough patience. So, but we get along good, all of us. But, I
don't like Dayne.
I think one of the things that everybody needs to know is our coaches and players are doing everything within the framework of what's humanly possible to put the biggest product out there, best product they can put. And there's not a lot of really new things that you can do. Sometimes you come up with, because of the different things in video and all that you can do. But as far as these players get to take the practice tape home and watch it on their computers and watch other teams and watch other games, and they give them NFL tapes to watch a position, watch a guy run a route or cover people. I mean, they do a lot of visual stuff, which is great, and I like that.
Kirby pointed out, and I've heard this from other positions, but when he was standing at the podium at the gala, he asked his players, he's like, who in the nation does more walkthroughs than we do? And they're like, nobody, because they do a ton of walkthroughs. And I thought it was apropos that, they showed something on the practice tape of Tech running a swinging gate. And then Georgia blew it up because they practiced against it. They'd walked through it. It was a walkthrough.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the fact that Georgia Tech ran it once against Georgia State, and Georgia put it in their books to practice against it in the walkthrough, and then sure enough, in the 8 overtimes, they tried the swinging gate again. And I think they called it migration or whatever. And Georgia absolutely destroyed it because they'd gone against it. And my takeaway from that, just as not as a journalist, but as a fan who went to Georgia, is like, these guys do not leave any stone unturned. And that was my point when we opened the show, was if Georgia fails to win a championship or to win the SEC, it won't be for lack of effort. And
right.
That's what Coach is saying too. So
that was
a lot more grace after that night.
Yeah, that was a mental rep that helps you. And but there's also the physical part that even though you're mentally ready, you don't execute like we didn't execute on the kickoff coverage against Notre Dame or whatever it might be. But I think what he's trying to put across to the fans talking about the walkthroughs is which about 3 years ago they switched, and they used to have them out there for a long time, but now they split it up a little bit because it's hard to keep everybody's attention when you're on the sideline and you're really not doing anything and doing a walkthrough. So now they'll have a meeting, then come out and do half of their walkthrough, then go back and meet, and then come back and do the rest of it. So the attention is a little bit better, the attention span. And same thing with cell phones. These kids rely on their cell phones. I know everybody does. So you keep those meetings down to 30, 35 minutes, and then the kids can go check their cell phones.
I love it. All right, folks. I appreciate all of you being with us an hour. Now you can all go check your phones.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Mr. Thomas, one of our good fans. His son Vince had a birthday yesterday, and he came up here to celebrate along with his wife. And I think it's great that he supports us like this. But he told me that this year he's 66 years old. He's going to his 60th Georgia-Florida game. Wow. So that's pretty 60 in a row. So a shout out to him. Go Dogs.
I will, if I catch you in Jacksonville, we'll buy you a cocktail.
All right, get him one.
All right, folks. See you next week. Y'all take care.